Hey there, welcome back to my channel. In the previous episode, we have created our product microservice using a CDK, and we just went through the walkie through how CDK is working in the real life, and finally we have just created our stack also. In this episode, we are going to work on add some code to our endpoints. We have three major endpoints, that is product, category, and deals. So let's add all these endpoints one by one. Let's dive into the source code. So if you go here in API gateway stack, you can see we are calling one function that is called add resource. And while we are calling add resource, it is creating our API gateway with the help of Lambda REST API. And we have added all the resources endpoints together, right? And we have tested out all the resources are going through by hooking up this handler function, right? That is the Lambda functions we have created inside the source, right? Now this is the time where we are going to segregate our responsibilities of all these resources to a separate file, right? Just for separation of concern, so we are assigning three different classes. That is going to be our product service, category service, or deal service, the way we did for our user service, right? So that is what we are going to do first. All right, so let's create a couple of files inside this source directory. We have created three files here inside the source directory. That is the product API, deals API, and category API. So these are the three files we are going to assign to our specific resources for product API, category for category API, and deals for the deals API. At later stage, we are going to add one more Lambda function that is going to handle our upload images, right? Now this index.ts is not required, right? Let's delete this one. Now let's create a couple of more files and directories inside the source directory. All right, so we have created all these required files here, right? And inside the utility, one more file we need to create, that is called our DB database utility. That is we are going to create here. That is called DB connection.ts. Right, perfect. So now we have created all the required files for our product service. Now let's go to the service stack, and we are going to add some code to hook up our newly created Lambda functions, right? So and here you can see this product service already created. Let's create two more service. That is going to be let's understand what we did here. We have added two more nodejs function, just we did for our product service. And you can see it is sharing the common nodejs functions props. Additionally, we have added the timeout also here. That is not necessary, but still as a default timeout, I'm just putting 10 seconds. And the way we have created for our product service, it's a kind of new nodejs functions, and it has an identical name. And it is referring to that specific file path, which is called source. And let me close all these directories. And source, and you can see this is product API. It is pointed to product services, pointed to product API, right? And category services for category API, and deals accordingly to the deals API, right? So that means each and every resources, each and every service resources, whatever the API we are just going to call, it will going to be handled by that specific Lambda function, right? If you go here in API gateway stack, you can see it is pointed to only one single Lambda function. That means all the resources we are calling it is pointed to this Lambda function, right? So that's why this segregation is necessary. So each and every resources can have their own Lambda functions to handle their own operation. I'm gonna add some code to this stack props, because right now only we have the product service, right? Two more service we need to add it here. Perfect, now we have access of the category and deal service. So let's add some code to this add resource function, right? First of all, we are going to comment this out, all the old code. Here, service name is perfectly fine. And one thing we are going to do, because this is no more handler at all, because add resources is going to accept all the services. So only one way to receive all these services put to this function, we need to use this props, right? So let's use this props right here. So I'm gonna use like this way, API gateway stack props, right? So let's deconstruct all these props here. First, we need to pass this one because this is complaining. We need to pass only props. Cool. Now the complaint is gone. Let's deconstruct our services. Perfect. So now we have the access all the three services from here from add resource functions. Let's add some code here. If you're gonna uncomment this code, you can see in previously the API gateway we have created with the help of Lambda REST API. But this time we're not going to create with the help of Lambda REST API. We're going to use the AWS API gateway. For that thing, you need to import this one from AWS CDK leaf, and here you will find it, AWS API gateway, right? So this it's up to you. You can use the API gateway or API gateway v2. Just go with the API gateway first. Maybe later stage we can update it to v2. Now let's create our API gateway. Here in the REST API, the same way we need to provide our scope, that is going to be constructor, and we need to provide a kind of name also for that specific REST API, whatever the API gateway we are going to create right there. First of all, let's provide this, and after that we are going to provide the name same way we did for here, right? Copy. Cool. Now our API gateway is created, right? Now this is the time where we are going to create the endpoints, but we are not going to use some kind of legacy code just like this, right? So for that thing, we're going to introduce one kind of functions right here, which is going to help us to create our endpoints very efficiently. Okay, so first let's introduce one kind of interface. Why we have created this resource type? So this resource type is needed to create our endpoints, which is going to help us to create all these iterations in terms of like for the root, for the child, and for all these methods, that is we can create it efficiently. That's why we have just created this resource type. Let's implement this interface, and we are going to create one function here. Perfect. So now you can see, while we are creating this function, the create input function, we are providing this product service that is exactly this handler function. And let's get rid of all this old code. All right, so we can have in this single page, we can see clearly. Perfect. Let me bring it down also. All right, so while we are calling this create endpoint function, then you can see it is taking three kind of parameters. First one is the handler, where we are assigning our Lambda function that is called product service, right? And second one is resource. The resource is a kind of REST API, which is we have created here with the help of AWS REST API, right? That is we are passing right here as a resource, right? And third one is our resource type interface, where we have the name of that specific endpoint. In our case, it's a kind of name is product, and method is the get and post, and it has a child route, right, which is going to be ID and a method, just like this. As we said, product can have our ID. So that thing we need to pass it here inside the child, and child can have also get, put, and delete. So all these things, it is pretty clear inside this child, right? So now you can see it's pretty clean, right? It is cleaner than earlier. Now let's try to create the rest of all the other endpoints also. I'm going to copy this one. Right, let's add two more, right? This is going to be our deals or category. Category also have a kind of similar pattern like in get and post, and it has ID also, get, post, delete, and this is going to be rename as it's called our deals. Deals. Cool. Now you can see we have created all the endpoints with the help of this create endpoint function, right? Maybe we can optimize more, but I don't want to make it too complicated to understand, but this is fine. So let's try to replace all these Lambda functions here. This category can utilize this category service, right? And deals can use the deals service. Deals service. Now it is perfect. All right, so our API gateway is right now it's complete. So let's go here in the service stack. Let's try to check like whether everything is correct or not. Everything is perfect here. And if you go to this product service in the main stack, right? Product service stack, and it is complaining. Because why it is complaining? Because it has a trouble because we are not providing all this required stuff from here, right? Let's try to import here. This is going to be our category service and deal service. Deal service. And let's provide the same here as well as category service and deals. Now all good. Now let's try to deploy it, but right before deploy, at least we can signify this call is coming from our response is coming from our certain Lambda functions. Let's try to tweak a little bit. Here, hello from, not hello from product service category service, and it's from the deal service, and product is from product service. That's cool. Now let's go here. CDK synth. CDK deploy. Perfect. So now it is deployed. Right. So let's give it a try from here. Click on this URL, right, and click on open. Now it says like missing authentication token. That's perfectly fine. So I'm gonna put this product. It should have the response from the product service. Yeah, this is cool. And again, category. It's from category and from deals. Yeah, and this is coming from the deals, right? This is cool. So that means we are getting response from the required all this handler, whatever we have added right here. The Lambda function is responsible, that is responding correctly. Cool. Now let's add some more code. So at least you can utilize all the resources. It depends on like what kind of method we are applying. As an example, product we have plenty of methods, right? So where we can create product or get product or delete product, update product, all these things. Let's try to handle all these things quickly. But before that, what we need to do, we need to add some more code on the utility side because we don't have the error and response for a while. So what we are going to do, we are going to utilize some of the existing code which is we have created for our user service. Let's go there. Here in the user service, if you go inside this app directory, right, and click on utility, then we are copying this response and the error class, right, and along with the database client as well as database client is not required because this is here we are going to use some different client, so that is perfectly fine, I believe. Now let's copy this too from Proval. Copy this, paste it here. Cool. So it has the error, but it is required this class validator, right, and it has a response. This is fine. So let's try to install this this specific library. All right, class validator anyway we are going to use for our DTO. Let's try to install that. So let's switch back to our main directory, right? Product service, class transformer and class validator. We are going to add it here. Cool. So now precisely this error has to go. Yeah, it's gone, right? Now this response we can utilize, but make sure like we are going to add a couple of more things here. That is called content type, because CDK is going to complain otherwise. Content type will be application session, right? Copy here and here as well as. Cool. Let's add some code in this product API file where we have created our Lambda functions here as a handler. I'm gonna add some code quickly, then I will make you understand what exactly is going on inside this handler. All right, so what we did here, so we have added one switch case, which is going to determine whether it's a kind of root endpoint or it's a kind of sub endpoint, right? So if it has the path parameters, right, then this is not a kind of root endpoint anymore, right? This is something like this. If it has the product and this product, and this is the root endpoint, right? And if it doesn't have the path parameters, as an example, product, and it has some kind of the ID, and this specific route will come along with like this, right? This path parameters will become something like this. ID will be 1 2 3 4, right? So in this case, this object also will be present right here. So we're just to try to determine this path parameter is it null or it has some value, because in the product case, you know, it will always come just like this, it's null. It will come something like this, null, right? So we are getting a kind of clear picture whether this specific route is a kind of it's a root route or it's a kind of sub route, right? That is, we can figure out from here. That is the way we are just trying to figure out if it is a kind of root route, right, root endpoint, then we are just to try to create the product. And if it is a kind of root endpoint, then we are just to try to get all the products. And if it is not a root endpoint, then we are calling like that specific product by ID. And same thing we did for put and the delete also. If it is not a root, then only we are just calling it. Otherwise, we are just throwing it out like requested method not allowed. I would like to request you double check while you are using the switch case, this one, even HTTP method to lowercase. So while you are evaluating your switch case here, so then it will going to be properly fulfilled. No doubt it will come as a kind of uppercase, but still for safer side, we can just keep it just lowercase. So our evaluation is going to be easy for here. Now, this product API handler is perfectly fine. So let's try to add some code to our product service and repository, so we can just move ahead with all the calls. Cool. So let's go to our the product service. Let's close this one, and here in the service, inside the service directory, click on the product service, and here we are just quickly creating this class. Perfect. So now we have added all these required functions from here in this product service, right? Let's hook up all these functions from this product service to our here in product API. But right before that, let's quickly create this repository also. Add some code into the repository in the product repository. I'm going to create it just like export class. Cool. So we have added the repository also, because while we are performing the product operation, then repository certainly is going to be needed, right? So let's try to create that specific product class or utilize this one here in the product API handler. So first we are going to create this. Let's import this one first. Import our from service. This is going to be our product service. Let's try this. Product service. Cons service equal to new product service, and inside the product service, we need to inject our dependency. That dependency is our the service repository. That's product service repository. Let's create a new product service product repository. Yeah, product repository. That's cool. Now inside this service, whatever the accessibility methods are there, that is, we are going to return it from here. Let's return service dot create product, right? Let's uncomment this one as well as, and instead of this, let's call the get products service not get products. Yeah, get products, right? Then here we can call get product by ID. So in that case, service dot get product. Yes, perfect. Now here in the put call also we can call this get edit product, return service dot edit product. Right, and here also we can call return service delete product. Cool, perfect. So now we have added all the required functions. Now we need to call it from our Postman or somewhere, right? But every time whenever we are making some all these changes, we need to deploy it on the cloud, right? Then only we can test it out. So that is what we don't want. We need to test it locally also. So to test it locally, what we can do, for that thing, we are going to install AWS SAM CLI. So SAM stands for the Serverless Application Model. And with the help of the SAM CLI, we can execute our CDK stuff from our local machine as well as, and it is giving a little bit more flexibility to execute all the CDK changes, all the CDK invoking functions, and etc. We can do much more, the operations much more, the granular operations from here and our local machine. So let's try to go ahead and install this one. I have installed already this version. So I'm using ARM64. You can use whatever exactly operating system you have. So for that thing, once it is installed correctly, you can go ahead to your source code and you just try to check it out. Which SAM, then you will get the part of the SAM, and you can get the SAM version as well as. Yeah, this is the SAM version. Okay, cool. The SAM execution, we are going to add a little bit configuration in our package.json file. So here, right after the CDK, let's add some code that is called, maybe we can put it as dev. Here we are putting CDK synth, and SAM local -t will be our CDK out. This is the file path, which is called this one. Just copy related path and add it right here. Once we are running this dev script, then it is first of all it's synthesizing all these changes, and then it will running the spinning the local server with the help of the SAM. And this is the command we are going to execute, this SAM local start API. And this is our template. This template is generating right here inside the CDK out directory. And you can see this is our CDK template, right? Product service tag .template.json. So that is we are referring to. Cool. Now just let's say from here, let's give it a try. Run dev. Cool. Now you can see this server is running on our localhost 3000. If you click on here, then you can see this is our server. So let's try to add our product here. It seems like, yeah, it's coming. Right, it's taking a little bit time, but it's coming right here, right? Then we can say deals, right? It's deals, and category is coming category, right? So we can just call the same thing from our Postman as well as. If you go to the Postman, and what we are going to do, we are going to add this URL localhost 3000. That is, we are going to add it there. From here, I'm gonna add it. Yeah, this is our local URL, and now we can just try to go ahead and call this one post call, and you can see this is product created. And if you can call this one as a kind of product get, and it has to call on the get products, right? This is get products. And if you can put some kind of parameter right here, now it should have to give you the product by ID. Yeah, this is product by ID. Cool. Now you can see our product creation and everything it's going through all these route, whatever we have added the code here. inside this Lambda handler, right? Here in the product API, it is going through. So that's all for today. Let's continue with the next episode.